One sec, I'll be right back. Alright, so I just got back from 2030, and because you watched this video, you were actually retired, so you were living life. Let's talk about it. Regardless of how much money you have, you can still retire in less than 10 years. Now, I know you probably don't believe me, but give me a few minutes to explain my plan and how you can follow the same steps I'm following, and I promise you'll see just how simple it actually is. We're gonna cut this into 3 steps: deciding what to do with your retirement, choosing potential destinations, and then figuring out exactly how quickly you can retire and what we can do to speed up the process. So the first thing we have to do is figure out what kind of retirement you want. When people usually think of retirement, they think of laying on a beach, staying at home to binge their favorite shows, or basically just not working. And they're not wrong. However, there's a huge problem in the retirement process that is often overlooked until you actually run into it firsthand. And the problem is, most retirees become bored with life within the first year of retirement. And you might be thinking,
how can someone be bored in retirement? Just do something that excites you.
And that's true. That's why when I say retire, I don't mean doing nothing all day. I mean not working a job you don't like and then pursuing a hobby that you love, even if it means you're doing it for free. For you, this could be traveling, playing video games, becoming a personal trainer, becoming a photographer, doing makeup, handling social media accounts, literally anything that you love to do. That's what you'd be doing in retirement. For example, aside from content creation, I really like photography.
Get out of the way! I can't see! There are cars there, mother...
So if it's a hobby I already do, why not make a career out of it, you know? Now the second step is choosing your destination. We are moving really fast. This is without a doubt absolutely the most important, crucial step, hand over my heart, that we need to make sure you don't miss in this process. The key to being able to retire without needing millions in your bank account and also pursuing something you genuinely love is finding a place that has these 2 things: a high quality of life and a low cost of living. Here's an example of what I'm doing. Now, I love to travel, so I've been able to find that Costa Rica, Spain, Thailand, and South Korea, for me at least, have been amazing places that have really low cost of living. Like, an average restaurant meal is like $3 to $6 US, and then rent in those places is like $300 to $500 depending on where you're staying. Now, these are great choices for me because I'm a native Spanish speaker and my wife loves learning Korean. To find out what places might be great for you, I recommend Googling places with a low cost of living, and you can even be more specific and say in my country if you aren't interested in moving abroad, although I highly recommend it. So, small tip, once you discover those places that you know you'd really enjoy, make sure it's a relatively safe place. A low cost of living option isn't a good option if it's gonna put your safety or your comfort at risk. Keep in mind, have fun with the process, and understand this might be a place you'll move to eventually. So just because there's a low cost of living area doesn't mean you should go there if you don't genuinely enjoy that culture. Final step, once you know what you wanna do and you know where you wanna live, now we can see how we can turn this plan into a reality. Warning, this may be a lot of numbers, but I'll make it as simple as I can for you to understand. We'll just run through the process and then I'll give you my personal example at the end. So the first thing we want to do is calculate how much the hobby would make you if you did decide you wanted to do some full-time career out of it or something that you could do part-time and still make money from. Keep in mind, this does not have to be a big amount, and this is also something that you can change later on, so you can kind of plug it in the formula to see, I need to make this much if I want to retire in this much amount of time. And if you're drawing a blank on how much this hobby could make you, I actually suggest maybe starting this hobby now while you're still in your home or wherever you are now, and kind of getting a rough estimate on how much you can make. The second thing you want to do is calculate the average cost of living and the destinations that you selected. Keep in mind, this is super reliant on your lifestyle, so if you are a low spender, you can round down a bit, but if you do like to spend a lot more money, maybe a more luxurious lifestyle, then you can go ahead and round up a decent amount. So take the average cost of living that you calculated and then how much you think you'll make from your hobby. Subtract the hobby amount from the average cost of living, and the difference between those 2 numbers will tell you how much extra money you need to cover the rest of your expenses. If for some reason the money you're making from your hobby is more than your living expenses,
we're going on a $250,000 vacation.
Now, final step, we know exactly how much money we need to cover the rest of our expenses. Take this number and keep it in the back of your head for now. It is time to introduce the 4% rule. The 4% rule states that you should be able to live comfortably off of 4% of your investments, and this will last you your retirement. Now, this is usually for retirees who want their accounts to last about 30 years or so. Because we want this to last longer, I'm going to be on the safe side and say 3%. So we're using a 3% rule. Now, take the amount of money you need to cover the rest of your expenses and divide that by 0.03, which is 3%. That is how much money you'll need saved to retire. Here's a personal example. Costa Rica and Thailand's average cost of living is about $2,000 a person. My wife and I plan to make about $1,500 from our hobbies every month, which means we'll have about a $500 difference a month or $6,000 a year that our hobbies won't cover for our costs. So we take the $6,000, divide that by 0.03, which is our 3% rule, and that gives us $200,000, which means I would need $200,000 invested or saved to make sure that I can start this retirement process. Now go to this website and fill in your hypotheticals. All you need to know is your savings goal, which we just found, so go ahead and fill that in. Next, you have to fill in your initial investment, which is something that you can throw in right now. If you don't have anything you can throw in right now, then just put a 1 in this field. Now enter how many years you'd like to retire by in the growth over time section. And then finally, enter 10 in the estimated interest rate. You can play around with this field and lower the interest rate if you want to see how much more or less you should be investing depending on your market. Lastly, keep the frequency on annual, and now we click calculate. This will tell us about how much we need to save each month to be able to put this plan into action. Keep in mind, depending on if you have a partner or not, this can actually speed up the process about twice as fast because the salaries that you're making now are proportionately higher than the money you'll be spending later in retirement together. I also want to say, on the other side of the spectrum, this may be a little more difficult to reach if your average cost of living are a little higher right now. For example, if you have dependents to take care of. Now, this is not to say that the formula won't work, but you are definitely going to have to round up a decent amount on your average cost of living calculation so it's a more accurate representation of your current situation. Now, the purpose of this is really just to give you a good goal on how much you should be saving right now so you can retire as soon as possible. This can be tweaked as much as you want depending on any circumstance you have, so feel free to mess around to see every possibility. Now, as I said earlier, this is considering average returns in the market. So if you want to maximize your investments and you want a quick guide to investing, I've got the perfect video for you. If you're interested in some free stocks, I have a few links to some brokerages that I've personally used down below if you haven't already opened an account with them. If you have specific questions about your personal situation, feel free to leave them down below in the comments and I will do my very best to make sure that I can help you out. I really enjoy helping people find peace with their finance, so I want to do my very best to make sure that I can help relieve some stress when it comes to money talk. As always, I have another book to get back to. I should probably go back to the past to get this ending redone. So I'm going to leave you to it. You have a great day. I'll see you in the next video. See you later.